How did it ever come to this, my friends? You can either choose now to live in a prison or a playground. Can you believe it? Would you believe it, my friends? We are part of history. To everyone in isolation and lockdown, I wanted to share with you fundamentally some medicine that is going to support you during the time of the coronavirus and all this uncertainty. I'm going to include 5 practical things that I would strongly urge and press on you to do in order to preserve your mental, emotional, and the physical health. These will keep you strong, these will keep you balanced, and these will preserve us until this nonsense is over. Now we're going to begin with number 1, which is something a little bit unorthodox. It is fasting. I've been experimenting with fasting for roughly 3 years now, and I've decided to make it a staple in my daily routine due to its positive effects. Some of the well-known benefits recorded, and I can confirm through my own personal experience, include things like consistent energy, razor-sharp focus, reduction in headaches, migraines, and bloating as well. No bloating. Excellent. Now, the reason I'm bringing light to fasting during this time of isolation, I mean, you might be asking me, Joseph, why are you talking about fasting during this time of confinement to my home? Surely my physical functions are going to be best served if I'm consuming more nutrients. And they might. But I'm going to invite you to explore the notion of fasting with me through a process known as autophagy. Autophagy is essentially a process of internal recycling. When we fast, when the body is starved of nutrients, during this time period, the body has an abundance of energy to spare, which would otherwise be used in digesting food. So if you skipped breakfast, you free up that energy to be used on other things. Since we're not eating and digesting, the body puts the spare energy to good use by clearing out damaged cells and tissues to be reabsorbed into the healthier cells. Now, considering the population's irrational reaction to COVID-19, fasting is a no-brainer. Number 1. Firstly, not eating means you can skip a meal in the morning, which would otherwise be spent fighting over someone in the supermarket for a box of cereal or bread. Secondly, during your fast, you boost your immune system through the process of autophagy, which includes things like eliminating toxins associated with disease, repairing healthy cells, recycling proteins, and overall promoting cellular regeneration. And thirdly, during this period in which you are adapting to fasting, your mind will be so absorbed by what you are going to eat when you break your fast that you have no attention left over to give to social media and the news. Number 2, we touched on it very briefly just back there. Stop reading the news. This is an action we need to employ immediately. It is important to reiterate because people are becoming genuinely neurotic. They are making themselves sick by absorbing this poisonous information. And mentally and physically, they translate into the other. Individuals are genuinely getting addicted to watching those numbers roll in from BBC News. How many more infected? How many more dead? It's ludicrous. Then forwarding this information to others, gossiping about friends of friends that have contracted the illness and how they're doing, and the person you know that works in the NHS that has this secular piece of information that you are enjoying spreading to your group of friends. Look, you're giving more energy to the virus. You're not helping anyone, especially yourself, if you continue to propagate scaremongering, because that's essentially what you're doing. So stop reading the damn news. Number 3, something else a little bit unorthodox. We need to engage in meditative activities. We have all been given a wonderful opportunity for self-reflection. I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. So we need to consider that during this lockdown and the time spent alone in isolation, it is imperative that we cultivate mindfulness. Now, mindfulness, you may have heard this term floating around quite a lot, but mindfulness is simply the art of introspective awareness, looking at our thoughts, objectively and not identifying with them. You might experience a flood of negative thoughts and emotions at this present time, which is perfectly natural. So it is equally important that we recognize that we are not our thoughts. We are not the product of our thoughts that are harboring this negative energy. In order to exercise this practice, I invite you to engage in meditative actions. This could be something like yoga. I've recently started a morning yoga session, half an hour in the morning, becoming mindful of my breath. So again, breathing exercises, and also typical meditation, full lotus, just observing the thoughts, observing the breath. This will allow you to become present in the body and the moment, where your thoughts do not exist. For the moment is a gap in time where thoughts cannot penetrate. If you can start to experience the gap between you and the thinker, you will be on the path of cultivating a skill that will pay dividends, but not only now, but for the foreseeable future. Number 4, home exercise. Now, this is not a time to be complacent, for there are a plethora of videos and resources online that will support us in exercising and keeping the body strong at home. There is literally there's no excuses. There's a plethora of information out there, workouts to engage in for at least 4 days a week. Like I mentioned, I was starting a morning yoga for 30 minutes, following someone on YouTube. It is truly amazing, an amazing time to be alive, whereby you can go online, search something like yoga or calisthenics, and you can get a professional to give you a workout. Expert advice. I'm not going to delve too deeply into the details regarding the benefits. I'm just going to give you a surface level understanding because they are universally known. If you engage in exercise, you will experience things like increased strength, mobility, flexibility, reduced depression, anxiety, stress, improved immune response, and did I mention weight loss as well? Number 5, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. We need to read. Again, we have touched upon the erratic nature of the mind, which will be emphasized more so in this challenging time. That is why it is essential that we cultivate a reading habit, a kind of exercise for the mind, like throwing a ball of yarn in the corner of the room for the mind to play on. It keeps it occupied, it keeps us ticking over. Reading was something I neglected in my late teenage years. I could just never sit still and read. I always wanted to be out doing something in my expansive nature, like working out, training, lifting weights. If you are like me, now is the perfect time to reignite that flame or challenge yourself to adopt this reading habit. I mean, there is, again, a plethora of different kinds of reading formats, such as if you're into narratives or non-fiction, fiction, whatever the case may be. I personally am a sucker for learning self-help books, self-health, I should coin that term, self-help, psychology, philosophy, spirituality, health, nutrition, so on. I like to learn. I can tell you that my efforts have paid dividends in using the process of reading to further my learning. From understanding complex psychological concepts, symbolism in words, and increasing my overall vocabulary has been critical for my everyday life. Reading makes you smarter. It's as simple as that. If you want to get lost in a good narrative, I encourage you to do so as well. If not, there are plenty of sources, namely online sources. Look, if you really do not have any books in the house, there are an eternity of different reading sources out there online. You know what, actually, if you don't have anything to read at home, go to my blog, go to www.josephtaints.com, and you can read my work. It's free, and hopefully you will find some value in that, and I don't care if I'm shamelessly plugging here. Look, what I really want to communicate here is the biggest obstacle to losing your sanity here is you. Don't fall into the trap of binge watching Netflix or YouTube or playing video games until your eyeballs give up on you. We need to keep moving. We need to keep the body moving. We need to keep our minds engaged. And in the future, this will seem like a mere bump in the road. This is a big opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to do something different. Learn a language, start a blog, start a writing hobby, make music, whatever it is, keep yourself engaged. Give yourself a mini project that you are genuinely excited about because you have a lot of time to spare. And if you squander it on mindless activity, you will begin to crack. Stay present, stay engaged, my friends. And if you subscribe to that, subscribe to me, and I'll keep you engaged during this period of uncertainty.